Being in a world where Attack on Titan officially ended, especially after it wrapping up before my projected guess of 2025 or my safer guess of my firstborn getting through college, I find myself like,
Thank you.
especially after the drama of Attack on Titan's ending. While I was sitting there laughing like
Eren should have won. It's up and it's stuck. Titan gang.
while everyone else was crying. And obviously we do be trolling, so jokes aside, it was a great journey. And I mean that before the Attack on Titan fans recreate the rumbling on my comment section. But as the title suggests, this isn't about that. This new guy maybe isn't
And Eren Yeager.
so replacement is a strong word here if you want to nitpick, but he is just as much of a monster in probably the most literal sense. He might even be more of a monster. So if this is your first time hearing about our boy Kafka, I'm glad to welcome you to
Kaiju No.8.
and you're more than welcome to run down memory lane a bit with me if you've been reading the chapters or caught up. Kaiju number 8, if you're not caught up though, could be what you're looking for after the world of Titans and the Scouts. So I thought it was a perfect time for this video to give a proper introduction to the Defense Force officers and the kaijus of the series, and also go through how this could change Shonen Jump's formula going forward. And really, ultimately, why you should pick this up and give it a try. Let's get
Started.
Through majority of Shonen Jump's history, protagonists are created to be as relatable as possible, as they are in pretty much every other medium of entertainment like movies or books. And since the audience for Shonen Jump has been kids and teenagers most of its history, we've had protagonists that, you guessed it, are kids or teenagers, with maybe a college student sometimes, at least until more recently. Our main protagonist, Kafka Hibeno, we're introduced to not as a kid, teenager, or even a college student. And at the start of the story, we're introduced to him at 32, as one of the old head characters, especially later as someone who's trying to join the military. Granted, he's attempted multiple times already, since his younger sister is already a captain. This is a great move, way more than most would think, and it's already underrated to me, because it shows Shonen Jump is not just aware of their older audience and shrugging their shoulders anymore, and that they are greenlighting projects that could appeal to more older audiences. I don't know, it's just nice to have an actual grown adult as a protagonist for once. I feel with that it makes Kafka's backstory less predictable and more interesting, even if not perfect. More of giving an illusion of a better backstory because they're throwing you off a bit, if that makes sense. Anyways, in chapter 1, he's introduced unusually for a typical shonen character in another aspect where he is introduced already in the workforce, as a worker for the Kaiju disposal crew that cuts up what the Defense Force kills and does what the name suggests: some goddamn disposing. Ironically enough, if he never did this job, he probably wouldn't be as good at killing kaiju later on, as this helps him figure out weak spots and hunting strategies quicker than even veteran soldiers. So while this part of the story is a bit slower for a few chapters, it makes sense why. We see him cutting up and disposing kaiju with the rookie he meets at the start of the story named Ichikawa, who convinces him to retake the test for the last time with him after pretty much calling him out and telling him he ain't shit. Ichikawa's character progression through Kaiju number 8 is at times even better than Kafka's, and proves to me that Shonen Jump knows that they're taking a risk on an older protagonist. So Ichikawa is portrayed as more mature and level-headed than Kafka most of the time, with Kafka being an older, Asta-like character, but with more moments of maturity and actually reflecting and learning from experiences, because they need more of a range of solutions, especially when kaiju powers get further introduced, and it's not as simple as just punch stuff, train more, punch stuff again, with more scientific approaches also sprinkled in as well. And it helps that there's less yelling than Asta, which makes him way more tolerable as a main character. Maybe it's just me, but sometimes it's nice to not have 90% of the dialogue be normal volume, then Asta gets on screen and I teleport to an IMAX full surround sound theater with the volume turned all the way up. Anyways, the Defense Force were first introduced to in the story when Kafka shows up with Ichikawa to his final attempt at enlisting, is the director of the Defense Force's teenage daughter. So not even officially enlisted yet, for one, or fully grown, but straight flexes on Kafka by moving his car with one hand because his parking spot looked better. Something about lucky numbers. So this is what we're doing 10 seconds in and we're already at lifting modern vehicles over our heads. Seeing this only a few chapters in made my eyebrow hit the shit like The Rock's did in WWE and had me hit that gamer lean like I was getting wall-to-wall comboed from Thanos or some shit. Because to be clear, if we're doing that from the beginning, just Uber meets Raw, no training arc or time skip, then there's definitely going to be ape activity later. And I'm talking silverback gorilla level of crazy with the hands in this. And this was before I even saw the kaiju in the story. Let me get myself back together. After that, the story starts moving at light speed. So honestly, without spoiling everything for people who haven't read, or at least haven't read most of it yet, we'll do a more general kaiju breakdown. First, I have to mention the kaiju comedy, as I like to call it, that they put in, like this random kaiju designed with a sad face, ironically, doing kaiju things just for bro to look down in confusion as the railgun aimed at him starts melting his chest a little bit before scattering him across downtown when it fully charges. They don't overdo it, so there's only a few scenes like this, but it gets a laugh out of me sometimes, and I figured some people might appreciate hearing about it. But for the actual kaiju breakdown, we can start from the title. Now, this is no Pacific Rim type beat. I know I've said a kaiju a lot in this video already, but Pacific Rim wishes it could be half as good on a good day. And I say that because I might compare information between the two, since it's well known, but it ain't shit comparatively, just to be clear. The main kaiju, including obviously Kaiju number 8 and the numbered kaiju, are all Dai Kaiju, which is gauged by being a fortitude level of 8.0 in Kaiju number 8. And it's the only thing Pacific Rim did even close to anything in Kaiju number 8 too, and it's scaled more off durability, as you could probably guess, while Pacific Rim based it on size of the kaiju, but that's besides the point. In the story's latest chapters, we're up to about 15 numbered kaiju with no signs of slowing are already introduced, so the growing threat may not be rumbling status, but has been keeping the story intense as the Defense Force try to keep up with all these new threats. Even later on, with Kafka and Kaiju number 8 being put to use. For kaiju size, they have general categories like giant size kaiju and miniature size kaiju for humanoid level, keeping it simple and mostly focusing on actual toughness level in the story. Lastly, for kaiju, but not exactly because they are actually products of the numbered kaiju, and that is the numbered weapons. Instead of ODM gear, the Defense Force has almost more of an intricate system with weaponizing materials of the kaiju that enhance their strength, like seen with Kafka's car in the beginning, but the numbered weapons are specifically from the numbered kaiju that further through the story make humans walking Dai Kaiju and level the playing field between kaiju and humans, making the fights ruthless as both kaiju and human fight to keep evolving and gain the upper hand. Before wrapping the video up, I just want to further explain that these small tweaks to the way they introduce Kafka's character, with his motivation being he's trying to catch up with family through his sister already being a Defense Force captain, and it not being exactly a typical revenge story because he doesn't really have any vendetta against the kaiju other than the fact that the world is shit because of them, while also seemingly being orphaned, but they're not focusing on it. It shows the cracks of a new age of Shonen Jump where we have more of a range of not just themes of conflict, but protagonists with different introductions without pulling an MCU and making unrelatable characters and cringe characters. So it's nice to see them take a bit of risks on Kafka's character and just pure all gas no brakes of the story, with the intensity of the hand-to-hand combat going dummy from the beginning and really just getting better and better over time. So if you need something fresh after Attack on Titan, just pick this up and I'd say give it a try, but Yoda taught me there's no try, only kaiju. Yeah, never mind, I'm gonna end the video now. Bye. If you liked what you heard, please leave a like on the video. If you want to hit the subscribe button for me, I would greatly appreciate it. Like I said, if this Kaiju number 8 video does well, I'll try and do some more. I'm already caught up on the manga. So I've been your boy Nimbus. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.